This is the Soviet Valentine Tank Company box set for Enemy at the Gates in Flames of War. I'd like to thank Blitz Peaces who've sent me this kit for review. Their generous support is helping this channel review a wider range of new Battlefront products. The Soviet Union received almost 3,000 Valentines of all marks as Lend-Lease support in World War II. They used the Valentine in the light tank role, requesting supplies throughout the war even after they'd stopped manufacturing their own light tank designs. If we have a look at the back of the box, there's an exploded assembly diagram and a side view of a painted Valentine too. The box set contains 5 plastic Valentine tanks, 1 plastic tank commander sprue, 1 decal sheet and 3 unit cards. The decal sheet has red stars, Soviet tactical numbers and Cyrillic patriotic slogans. Don't ask me what they say, my Russian's just not up to it. There are only 3 unit cards in the box. 2 of these are the Enemy at the Gates Soviet formation card and a generic movement orders card. The only Valentine unit card is the Valentine Tank Company card for the 2-pounder armed Valentine II. More on the card and its stats later. Let's look at the plastic. The parts come on a single sprue of olive green plastic. There are 5 sprues in the box. This is the same plastic as the British Valentine in the Armoured Troop box for North Africa. This means it has the parts to make the Valentine II and Valentine III 2-pounder variants, as well as the 6-pounder armed Mark VIII. There are enough parts to build 2 full turrets, the Mark II 2-pounder turret or either the Mark III or Mark VIII turrets. This box set only has unit cards for the Valentine II, but building an extra turret will give you options later. Tracks and running gear are one piece. Track moulding is okay and the road wheels have some nice bolt detail. The road wheels are the smooth type more commonly found on the Mark III and later. Valentine II generally had spoked wheels, but this is just a minor issue. Detail of the moulding is generally strong and crisp. Battlefront make excellent plastic wargaming kits. The hull has strong engine deck and grille detail as well as nice raised armour rivets moulded onto the hull. These should paint and highlight well on the completed painted kit. The kit captures the odd-angled shape of the armour plates on this vehicle. The sprue has parts like the sand skirts and British pattern smoke discharges that won't be required when building a Lend-Lease vehicle. Here's the completed kit. It went together easily without any major issues. Overall, this is a great quality low parts count kit with strong and plentiful detail. You get the option to build 2 complete turrets. This should help you field the version covered by this box, as well as a later Mark III or 6-pounder armed Mark VIII from the one kit. Let's look at some history. The infantry tank Mark III Valentine is a British tank designed and built by Vickers Armstrong. British tank doctrine required 2 types of tank design. Infantry tanks were heavily armoured support tanks that need only move at the pace of a marching soldier, while cruiser tanks were lighter, more mobile designs that relied on movement to avoid enemy fire. Although designed as an infantry tank, Valentine was made as light as possible, enabling it to use the existing running gear from the earlier A-10 cruiser. This meant Valentine was kept small, giving it a low silhouette but making it very cramped to operate. As an infantry tank, protection was emphasised and Valentine had 60mm of armour. The hull had an angular shape consisting of complex small angled plates riveted together. Initially armed with a 2-pounder gun, the small turret had only 2 crew, the gunner and the commander, who also acted as loader. The British War Office considered the turret too small, but the outbreak of the war and the loss of most of the British Army's equipment in France in 1940 meant the Valentine was rushed into production. Many Valentines were used for training, but the Valentine II was first fielded in action in North Africa during Operation Crusader in 1941. The later Valentine III retained the 2-pounder gun, but changes to the turret managed to squeeze a loader into the crew, freeing up the commander to concentrate on commanding the tank in battle. The Mark III had slightly thinner side armour to compensate for the added weight. By 1942, the 2-pounder lacked sufficient punch against newer German tanks, but the small turret ring in this compact design made mounting larger guns difficult. Later Marks did eventually field a 6-pounder or 75mm gun. Plentiful supplies of better designs like the M4 Sherman and Cromwells in British service meant the Valentine was no longer needed. Almost 3,000 Valentines were supplied to Russia under Lend-Lease. However, about 400 of these were lost when their transport ships were sunk. Although Valentine was inferior to Soviet designs and criticised for its low speed and weak armament, it was plentiful, small, reliable and well armoured. This made it popular with Soviet crews. The narrow tracks gave poor performance in snow, ice or mud. Performance improved when Russian tankers welded spurs to each fourth or fifth track link. The 2-pounder gun was obsolete, lacking penetration against armour and an effective HE shell to deal with infantry. There were some plans to arm Valentine with Soviet 45mm or 76mm guns, but these proved impractical. These projects were abandoned when 6-pounder armed Valentines became available. Although designed by the British as a heavy infantry tank, the Russians used it as a heavily armoured light tank. Production continued for Russian use until the end of the war. Let's look at the Lend-Lease Valentine stats. Things start out well with confident motivation of 4+. Not one step back gives them a 3+ last stand rating, so they'll be harder to break and make run. However, their skill rating is green at 5+. Don't expect this unit to regularly execute movement orders like Blitz, Follow Me or Shoot and Scoot. They're also easy to hit, rated as reckless with a to hit of 2+. Your opponent will have to roll badly or you'll need to stack up some to hit penalties like concealment or smoke to avoid taking fire. Or you could just field too many to kill easily and rush forward, accepting losses are part of the Soviet way of war. Your armour will help a bit here. Valentine IIs have front and side armour of 6, so flanking isn't something you need to worry about. Most tanks and AT guns can penetrate this, but armour of 661 gives these more armour than Sherman's at 641. Tactical move is short at just 8 inches or 20 centimetres. It can manage 10 inches or 25 centimetres dash over terrain, but Valentine is no speed demon. Expect a grinding advance rather than a heroic charge at the enemy. Crosses are 3+. Keep them out of difficult terrain if you can. The 2-pounder gun has a 24-inch or 60 centimetre range, halted rate of fire 2 and moving of 1. AT is 7 with a 4+ firepower. Again, this gun will struggle against later tanks. It also has the no HE rule, which means a +1 to hit when firing at infantry and gun teams. The small 2-man turret on the Valentine II gives it the overworked rule, adding +1 to hit when firing the gun on the move. Machine guns are the standard 3 rate of fire moving or halted, with AT2 and 6 firepower. So Valentine is slow and cumbersome with an obsolete gun and serious limitations from its small turret and overworked crew. The crew stats don't help, with poorly trained Soviet crew unable to use movement orders effectively and being easy to target. On the plus side, it is reasonably cheap at about 2.5 points per tank. 3 tanks is 8 points and you can have up to 10 in a company for 24 points. But the heavy armour is about the only advantage Valentines have over taking something like the M3 Stuart. The Stuart is cheaper but comparable in all other respects except armour protection, and moves a lot faster. You can field up to 2 Valentine companies as part of the Enemy at the Gates Mixed Tank Battalion. You can also field a company of them for other Soviet formations as formation support. So that's the Battlefront Valentine Tank Company for Enemy at the Gates. It's a great kit of an important Allied vehicle that played an important role in the fighting on the Eastern Front with the Russians. The kit goes together well and parts are crisply moulded and well detailed. Construction is straightforward without any issues. Being able to build 3 variants from the one kit makes this a very versatile kit for wargamers. Enough parts to build 2 complete turrets for different variants from a single kit is a nice inclusion too. So this is another great plastic kit from Battlefront. I don't play Soviets, but if I was looking at the Valentine I'd really need the extra armour to be important in order to choose this over something like the M3 Stuart. However, both these Lend-Lease options have more armour and better firepower than Soviet light tanks like the T-60, so in this role maybe it is a worthwhile option. Thanks to Blitz Peaces for supplying this review copy. Their generous support helps this channel review a range of products, particularly products for forces I don't field. The link to their online store is in the description below. Check them out. Blitz Pieces are also hosting the Team Yankee Asian Team Championships in Singapore on the 20th and 21st of July. Registration for the event is now open, and all the details are in the links below.